I had an interesting learning experience yesterday or this weekend about love languages. I am not fluent in love languages. I know I talk about love a lot, but I am not word good with love languages all. Love languages meaning there are different ways that different people express and hear love. Those different ways are words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch. That means that you might be building a gazebo for your lover. You are doing an act of service. You are trying to give them a gift. You are focusing on what you think are this love language of yours. And you spend all this time and energy and sweat building this thing as an expression of love. Meanwhile, they are inside sipping the lemonade, so pissed off that you won't just sit down with them for 10 minutes and just spend some quality time. Both of you thinking like, I'm not asking for that much, or I'm giving so much. Why am I not being appreciated? And it's because of being out of sync with love languages. And so right now, Belicious is having a medical procedure done, and I, being a ineloquent love language speaker, drove to San Diego in my head thinking that the way that I can be supportive and loving for her this weekend is to take care of a bunch of computer issues that she was having, and fix her computer and back up her hard drive and do all these things that that were serious tasks, like digital warrior stuff. And so I went and slayed those dragons and fixed all those things, and meanwhile, what she needed was to sit and connect and just be with me for a few minutes before she went to the hospital. And her telling me this was so hard to hear because I was feeling like I was doing so much. I drove to San Diego. I drove 3 hours here to do all these, put this huge to-do list for her. And now I'm the bad guy. I'm the one, and as she spoke, and I was like so grateful that she communicated what she was feeling, because from her perspective, she's so right. Oh my gosh. And then I felt guilty and I felt bad. And then it was even harder to kind of sit with it and accept it because I was judging myself and feeling bad. And that's something that I'm not very good at. If I feel bad, my instinct is to say, screw it, I suck at this. I guess I'm not what you're looking for. Like, ugh, such a cowardly response, but I do feel it in myself. I just want to run away and say, I'm just not good at this. It's what I did with Little League. It's what I did with surfing. It's what I did with snowboarding. It's what I did with poi. It's what I do in relationships at times. So at least I'm aware of that stumbling in my love language. So this weekend was just a good reminder for me to check back in to that awareness that people have different types of love language, and sometimes the step one needs to be understanding the other's fluency, understanding the other's language. Hour for hour, I put in massive effort and resources in what felt like an act of love, but was received and felt to her almost like an escape. You ran away from my needs of just being with you. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess, from that perspective, you're right. You mean, if I just would have hung out with you for 20 minutes, then I could have had the rest of my weekend to do whatever I wanted and not fix all these problems for you? I don't know if that's true or not, but the point is, it's a good thing to be aware of. One of the most hugely influential things I've ever seen on like a self-help video or tape was I saw an old Tony Robbins video. He talked about an argument that he had with his then wife. I don't know which wife it was, and he said that they were at the table, they started getting an argument, and he started getting louder and louder and louder and louder and yelling, and she just got up from the table, walked out the door and slammed the door and went off into their bedroom. And he sat there and was like, how dare her? Because from his background, in his family, if there was conflict, you yelled it all out, you spoke your mind, and then you shook it off and you hugged and you went through it. It would be incredibly rude to walk away while someone was talking to you. And so in his mind, she just was so disrespectful to him. Now, much later, when everything finally cools down and they check in, he learns that her family, their pattern, their love language, or I should say conflict language, was that if they ever got heated, they all just did a timeout, cooled off, and then came back to deal with it with calmer heads. And so for her to be yelled at was so disrespectful and rude, and she could not believe she was being treated that way by her partner. So here are two people, both feeling totally righteous, both feeling like the other person totally disrespected them, both totally inflating their anger and frustration way beyond the issue at hand. Total conflict, all about a mismatching of communication styles. That awareness will save you so many times. It is so easy to fall out of the issue at hand and into a communication problem. Way more often you are fighting because you're having communication problems than the issue at hand. The whole joke about the toothpaste top, again, it's not because of the toothpaste top. It's not because of this. It's because for some reason you need to hear this, you need to feel this, you need to be heard in this way, and they are, you're not connecting. So I am so grateful for Belicious for speaking up this weekend when we were not connecting. Even though she knew that I would be stirred up by it, it would bother me, but loving me enough to go through the frustration so that we could sink into a language that she was eager to hear. So I think it was a challenging but positive overall interaction, but definitely an example of relationships being work. Hope you can tune into the right language at the right time, or at least be aware that when you're having a conflict, make sure it's not just a matter of missing the meaning. Wait a minute, all you really needed was for me to hold you? But I built you a gazebo. Thank you.